Ambassador Kethver's claws scraped against the titanium floor. As he descended into the hidden facility beneath Kepler-4's northern continent, the Zilani diplomat had negotiated peace treaties across 3 galaxies, his 8-foot reptilian frame commanding respect wherever his emerald scales caught the light. Today, however, his usual composure cracked like a fault line. Dr. Sarah Chen, the human xenobiologist accompanying him, struggled to keep pace. Her breath formed small clouds in the frigid underground air. As they followed Commander Thaxel of the Corvan Military Corps, the wolf-like alien's enhanced senses had detected the facility first. His pack instinct screaming warnings that something was terribly wrong. The energy signatures are consistent with biological containment systems, muttered Zephyr 09, the Ashanti collective consciousness inhabiting a crystalline humanoid form. The plant-based entity's bioluminescent patterns flickered with increasing agitation. As they processed incoming data streams, they had been investigating disappearances across 12 systems. When the trail led here to this supposedly abandoned research station run by the Harvest Collective, what they found defied their worst expectations. The first chamber contains Zilani hatchlings, no more than a few months old, suspended in nutrient baths. Kepler's throat constricted. His species abandoned their young by evolutionary design. Yet seeing these helpless creatures imprisoned sent unfamiliar rage coursing through his veins. The second chamber held Corvan cubs, their tiny howls echoing off sterile walls. Thaxel's hackles rose, a low growl building in his chest. His species lived and died for the pack, especially the young. The third chamber contained Ashanti saplings, young plant entities barely beginning their consciousness integration. Zephyr 09's form blazed brighter, their collective processing power overwhelmed by protective algorithms they didn't know existed. But it was the fourth chamber that shattered everything. 20-3 human children, ages ranging from toddlers to preteens, huddled in transparent containment cells. Their small faces, streaked with tears, looked up at the strange assembly of aliens with a mixture of hope and terror. Some called out mommy and daddy in voices that cut through species barriers. Like plasma through paper. Dr. Chen collapsed to her knees, her scientific objectivity vaporizing. "They're babies," she whispered, pressing her palms against the nearest cell where a little girl with curly hair held up a drawing of what might have been her family. For Kepler, something primordial awakened. The Zilani had evolved beyond parental bonds millennia ago. Yet looking at these fragile beings triggered genetic memories of protection and care. His hands trembled a first in his 2-century lifetime. "How long?" Thaxel's voice was barely controlled violence. The facility's AI responded with clinical detachment. "Current subjects have been in containment for periods ranging from 6 standard months to 3 years. Cognitive enhancement protocols have yielded promising preliminary data." The 4 rescuers stood united by a fury that transcended species, politics, and ancient grudges. Something universal had been violated here, and they would make it right. The rescue operation began immediately, but what they discovered in the facility's database changed everything. The Harvest Collective hadn't been randomly abducting children. They had been systematically studying the cognitive development patterns of juvenile minds across species to create enhanced soldiers. Dr. Chen's hands shook as she scrolled through the research files. They've been monitoring neuroplasticity rates, emotional bonding patterns, learning adaptability. She paused at a particularly damning entry. They targeted human children specifically because our species forms deeper emotional connections than most, and those connections actually enhance cognitive development. Kepler felt something he'd never experienced, the desire to protect something beyond political interest. As they worked to free the children from their containment, he found himself speaking softly to a frightened human boy, his usually harsh voice gentling in ways that surprised even him. "My people lay eggs and leave them," he told Dr. Chen quietly. "We evolved past parental attachment." But seeing this, he gestured to where Thaxel was carefully lifting a trembling human toddler. "I understand now what we lost." The Corvan commander had gone completely against his military training. His pack bonding instincts, designed for his own cubs, had expanded to encompass these vulnerable youngsters. He moved with infinite care, his usually gruff demeanor replaced by protective gentleness. Zephyr-09's consciousness had fragmented and reformed around a single directive: nurture. The Ashanti Collective's understanding of growth and development was being rewritten in real time as they interfaced with the traumatized children, offering comfort through gentle bioluminescent patterns as they prepared to evacuate the facilities. Alarms began screaming. Security footage showed Harvest Collective ships approaching. They had been detected. "We can't get them all out in time," Thaxel growled, counting the children they'd freed. "My ship can take maybe 8 safely." "Mine holds 6, Keffer added. "The Collective will scatter them across the galaxy if we don't get them all now," Dr. Chen said, her scientific mind calculating terrible odds. "They have facilities on 17 different worlds." That's when each species made the same decision independently. This wasn't about politics or territory anymore. This was about something far more fundamental. Keffer activated his diplomatic emergency channels, calling for immediate Zalani military support. Thaxel howled a pack-wide alert that would bring every Corvin ship within 3 systems running. Zephyr-09 opened quantum communication links to every Ashanti Collective node in the galaxy. Dr. Chen transmitted on all human frequencies. "This is xenobiologist Dr. Sarah Chen. We have recovered kidnapped human children and need immediate military support. Priority Alpha emergency." As enemy ships closed in, something unprecedented happened. The species that had been enemies for centuries suddenly found themselves coordinating a joint rescue operation. The sight of imprisoned children had dissolved political boundaries, trade disputes, and ancient grudges in a single moment of shared outrage. The children, confused but sensing the shift in their rescuers' determination, huddled closer to their unlikely protectors. Some small part of the universe's moral balance had been restored. But the real fight was just beginning. Asterisk space above Kepler-4 for to be transformed into a battle zone as ships from 4 different species converged on the Harvest Collective facility. The sight was unprecedented in galactic history. Zalani cruisers flying in formation with Corvin pack hunters, while Ashanti bioships merged with human destroyers in coordinated assault patterns. Admiral Maria Santos, commanding the human fleet, opened communications with the unlikely alliance. "I've been fighting wars for 30 years, but I've never seen anything like this," she admitted. Watching enemy formations scatter before their combined might, Fleet Commander Vextar of the Zalani, 2nd Armada, Keffer's military counterpart, had arrived with 12 heavy cruisers. Ambassador Keffer's transmission was unusually emotional, he noted. He used words I have never heard him speak before. Pack leader Garnthal brought 47 Corvin vessels, their crews howling battle songs across all frequencies. Thaxel sent the great call, "Protect the Cubs." We came from 5 systems away. The Ashanti response was perhaps most remarkable. 7 collective nodes had temporarily merged consciousness, creating unified Identity Prime, a being of unprecedented processing power dedicated entirely to child protection protocols. Down in the facility, the rescue teams worked frantically as battle raged overhead. They had discovered something horrifying. This was just one of dozens of sites. The collective had been operating for decades, taking children from hundreds of worlds. "Look at this," Dr. Chen called out, her voice hollow. She'd accessed the main database. Harvest sites on Corvin breeding worlds, Zalani nesting colonies, Ashanti Grove worlds. "They've been taking our children for 70 years. The numbers were staggering. Thousands of young beings, raised in captivity, their natural development, perverted into weapons research. Some had been experimented on for so long they couldn't remember their origins. But it was the rescue itself that proved most transformative. As they moved from chamber to chamber, something beautiful emerged from the horror. Zalani diplomats found themselves comforting Corvin cubs with instinctive care. Corvin warriors gently carried Ashanti saplings, their pack instincts expanding. Beyond species, Ashanti collectives interfaced with human children, offering bioluminescent comfort displays that soothed even the most traumatized youngsters. "My daughter would be about her age," Admiral Santos whispered, watching through the video feeds as Keffer, the cold reptilian diplomat, sang what sounded like a lullaby to a frightened human girl. The children, despite their trauma, seemed to sense the shift in their rescuers. Language barriers dissolved as universal expressions of care transcended words. A Corvin cub nuzzled against Dr. Chen's leg. Human toddlers reached for Ashanti entities with curious wonder rather than fear. As the last transport launched toward safety, carrying mixed groups of children from all four species, something had fundamentally changed in galactic politics. Species that had maintained careful diplomatic distance for centuries were now sharing their most precious resource, their young. This changes things, Fleet Commander Vexstar observed, watching Zalani medics working alongside human doctors to treat traumatized Corvin cubs. Everything, Pack Leader Garnthal agreed. His usually aggressive stance softened by the sight of mixed species groups playing together in the ship's common areas. The collective had made a fatal miscalculation. They had united the galaxy's most powerful species against them, not through politics or treaty, but through the most primal force in existence, the drive to protect the innocent. The revelation of the Harvest Collective's true scope transformed a rescue mission into a galactic war. Intelligence gathered from the Kepler facility revealed active sites across 17 systems, with command centers hidden in the lawless Outer Rim territories. The hastily formed alliance, now calling itself the Guardian Coalition, faced its first real test of cooperation. Planning sessions took place aboard Admiral Santos's flagship, a repurposed exploration vessel now serving as a mobile command center, orbiting the liberated Kepler facility. Their command structure operates like a Hydra, Unified Identity Prime explained, their crystalline form flickering with data streams, multiple heads, decentralized operations, but there is a primary consciousness directing overall strategy. Kethver, his diplomatic robes replaced with tactical gear, studied the holographic display. The collective has been using abandoned mining stations and defunct research platforms. They're parasites, feeding off civilization's discarded infrastructure. Pack Leader Garnthal's tactical assessment was characteristically direct. We hunt them down, every den, every hiding place. No mercy for those who steal cubs. Dr. Chen, now wearing the insignia of Guardian Coalition Science Division, had made a disturbing discovery. Some of the children we rescued don't remember their home worlds. They've been conditioned to see the collective as their family. We're not just fighting kidnappers, we're fighting an indoctrination system. The first coordinated strike targeted 3 facilities simultaneously. The operation showcased each species' unique capabilities. Zalani strategic coordination, Corvin pack hunting ferocity, Ashanti technological integration, and human adaptability. On Rigel 7, Thaxel led a mixed pack of Corvin and human marines through abandoned mining tunnels. The sight of wolf-like aliens working seamlessly with human soldiers, united by protective fury, struck terror into collective operatives who had never faced such coordination. At the Vega Station facility, Keffer used his diplomatic immunity to gain access, then activated a beacon for Unified Identity Prime to override all security systems simultaneously. The rescue proceeded with surgical precision. The third site, hidden in an asteroid field, fell to a combined fleet action that saw Admiral Santos's destroyers providing cover for Ashanti bioships as they physically merged with the station to extract imprisoned children. But each victory revealed greater horrors. Children who had been altered beyond recognition. Young beings who flinched from rescue, having known only captivity. Teenagers who had been turned into weapons, their natural development perverted into tools of war. How do we help them? Dr. Chen asked. Watching a group of rescued human children play with Corvin cubs, some adapted quickly, their natural resilience shining through. Others remained withdrawn, suspicious of kindness. The answer came from an unexpected source. The children themselves began healing each other across species lines. Human empathy helped traumatized Corvin cubs, Zalani youngsters, shared their natural problem-solving abilities. Ashanti saplings offered their innate connection to growing things. They're teaching us, Keffer observed, watching a formerly aggressive Zalani hatchling gently share food with a frightened human toddler, about what we could become. As intelligence reports poured in from rescued facilities, the Coalition prepared for the final phase, locating and destroying the collective's primary command center. But they knew this last battle would be the most dangerous. The collective, cornered and desperate, would fight with the fury of those who saw their entire worldview crumbling. The hunt was ending, but the real test of the Guardian Coalition's unity was about to begin. The collective's primary command center occupied a massive space station hidden in the Magellan Void, a region of space so empty that sensor sweeps rarely penetrated its depths. Intelligence suggested this was where the collective's leadership had retreated with their most valuable specimens, children who had been in captivity for years. Transformed into the perfect soldiers, the Guardian Coalition fleet approached an unprecedented formation. Over 100 ships from 4 species, their crews united by purpose that transcended centuries of distrust. At the center of the formation, a specially modified vessel carried the rescued children in secure compartments, guarded by volunteers from all species. Final approach in 30 minutes, Admiral Santos announced across all channels. Remember, our primary objective is rescue. Everything else is secondary. But as they closed distance, the true horror revealed itself. The station's external sensors showed movement, small figures in combat suits, moving with inhuman precision across the hull. Children, modified and weaponized, defending their prison with programmed loyalty. They're using the kids as shields. Pack leader Garnful snarled, his tactical display showing the deployment patterns. Keffer's voice carried across the fleet with uncharacteristic emotion. Then we adapt. No child dies today, not even those who have been turned against us. The battle that followed defied every military doctrine ever written. Instead of overwhelming force, the Coalition used precision and patience. Corvan pack hunters moved through the station's corridors with infinite care, their natural ferocity replaced by protective gentleness when they encountered weaponized children. Unified Identity Prime fragmented their consciousness into dozens of smaller entities, each one dedicated to reaching the mind of a single altered child, offering connection and hope where there had been only programming. Human Marines, trained for combat, found themselves becoming impromptu counselors and caretakers. Dr. Chen led teams of scientists and medics who worked to reverse the conditioning. Even as battle raged around them, the collective's leaders, faced with the collapse of their entire operation, made a final desperate gambit. They activated a station-wide self-destruct, intending to eliminate evidence and assets together. That's when the true miracle occurred. The children, all of them, from every species, turned against their captors, years of conditioning shattered. In the face of genuine care and protection offered by their rescuers, Solani hatchlings used their natural problem-solving abilities to disable security systems. Corvan cubs howled pack calls that guided rescue teams through the station's maze. Ashanti saplings interfaced with the station's biological components, turning them against the collective. Human children, with their unique adaptability, coordinated between species in ways that surprised even their rescuers. In the station's command center, the collective's leaders found themselves facing not a military tribunal, but something far more terrifying. Keffer, his cold diplomatic mask finally removed, revealing the protective fury of a being who had discovered what it meant to care. "You stole more than children," he told them, his voice carrying the weight of universal judgment. "You stole innocence, trust, hope. You turned the galaxy's most precious gift into weapons." The evacuation proceeded with unprecedented efficiency. Every child, from the most recent abductees to those who had known no other life, was carried to safety by their multi-species rescuers. The station's destruction became secondary to the sight of former enemies working together to save the innocent. As the Guardian Coalition fleet departed the Magellan Void, something fundamental had changed in galactic civilization. The Universal Child Protection Accord was signed aboard Admiral Santos's flagship, with representatives from dozens of species, adding their commitment to never again allow such atrocities. But the real victory wasn't political. It was visible in the ship's common areas, where children from across the galaxy played together under the watchful eyes of protectors who had discovered that the instinct to nurture transcends every other boundary. The universe had revealed its most essential truth: some bonds are stronger than evolution, politics, or prejudice. The greatest evil had indeed revealed the greatest capacity for good across all sentient life.